Not long ago, I did a video about changing all of my Reolink cameras over to Amcrest for my Blue Iris system. At that time, there was one camera I could not replace because it had a 4x optical zoom, and I was looking at the different options that were available to me. In today's video, I want to cover the Amcrest 4K PoE bullet camera, which has 4x optical zoom and autofocus. If you want to learn more about this camera and how it performs, then stick around for the rest of this video. And if you haven't done so, please consider subscribing. If you find this video useful, don't forget to give it a like as it helps support the channel. If you've shopped around for security cameras that have a motorized optical zoom, you know they can be pretty expensive. As I've switched the rest of my security system cameras over to Amcrest, it only made sense to see what they had available. I had so many issues with Reolink and Blue Iris that I didn't even want to consider them. So after shopping around, I settled on the Amcrest 4K PoE bullet camera with a 4x optical zoom and autofocus. The main reason I wanted optical zoom was due to the location where the camera was mounted. I wanted to make sure that it captured all the area that I needed. And many of the fixed-range bullet cameras really didn't work out for this particular application. Let's see what's in the box and briefly go over the camera, and then we'll plug it in to see how it functions and check the compatibility with Blue Iris. The camera has an 8 megapixel sensor and a 2.7mm to 13.5mm lens with autofocus. It also has a micro SD card for internal recording. The camera has a heavy-duty IP67 housing and uses 4 built-in IR LEDs, giving you low-light vision capability and night vision up to 197 feet. Looking at what comes in the box, we get a connector cover for a tight water seal on the connector, mounting screws, a quick start guide, and a mounting template. You get a Torx driver and, of course, the camera itself. Looking at the top of the camera, there's a sliding shroud, which is typical of Amcrest cameras. It helps protect the direct lens from the sun so you don't get glare and other artifacts. There is a removable plug that allows the wire to come out the side depending on your mounting requirements. At the end of the cable, you get an RJ45 that's PoE enabled, and you get a separate power input cable in case you're not using PoE, so you can power the device with a separate power supply. On the bottom of the camera is a removable cover giving you access to the micro SD, as well as a quick look of the lens and motor assembly. So let's set this up real quick and make sure it functions. Though I knew what my IP address was, because I use static IPs for all my cameras, but in the event that you don't know, just simply run the Amcrest IP config utility and you can obtain your IP address. Using my browser and the IP address, I can log directly into the camera so we can do some preliminary work before attaching it to Blue Iris. I'll log in using the default admin, and the first time you log in, you'll force you to change your password. Type in your new password and confirm and click OK. Now that we've logged into the camera, it's time to make a few adjustments. The first thing I'm going to do is to set the optical zoom to the distance I want. As you can see, there's quite a bit of range in how far I can zoom in and out, and the autofocus, although it has a very slight delay, works really well. Next, I'm going to go into the video section and change the encoding mode to H.265 and disable the watermark, and then go over to the overlay section. Here I'm going to disable all the overlays as I'll be using the ones in Blue Iris, and when I'm done I'll hit save. Next, I'm going to go into the network section. Here I need to change the HTTP port from 80 to something else. I typically use 1095 on my cameras, but you can use whatever you want to. I just don't like anything writing on port 80, especially IoT cameras. Once I change it and save it, the camera will reboot and I will have to access it using the port number. After I log in with the new port number, the last thing I need to do is to change the name of the camera, and that's pretty much it. It should now be ready to connect to Blue Iris. Now it's time to adapt the camera to Blue Iris and see if it works the way other Amcrest cameras have worked in the past, and if it does, it should only take a few minutes. After you launch Blue Iris, hit the plus sign in the upper right hand corner to add the camera, and you want to give it a name and a short name. And before clicking OK, you want to make sure that you enable the direct to disk option. Click OK.
In the next section, since we already know the IP number and the port number, the easiest way is to just enter that information with your new credentials and then hit Find and Inspect. If for some reason you don't have your IP number and port number, you can download their utility or look on your router for the IP address. Once it's verified the camera features, just select Close on this screen and make sure you set the substream of your camera and then select OK. Lastly, make sure that you select the hardware decode to match your system. Since I use an Intel-based CPU, I'm going to pick the Intel plus VPP. If you have an NVIDIA or an AMD, then you'll need to make a different selection, but you need to make sure that you're using GPU enabled. And you're pretty much done at this point. On this next screen, you can configure the sensitivity of the motion sensor as well as edit the trigger zones to prevent from getting too many false alarms. I find this feature invaluable, especially for outdoor cameras. That's pretty much it for the basic configuration. I'll post a link to my other video that gets more into the performance settings, but as you can see from my mounting pictures, though it's a pretty large camera overall, it fits nicely under the eave. In summary, I really like this camera, though it's larger than a standard PoE IP camera, mainly because of the motors and optics. And the camera costs a little bit more. The quality and performance is really awesome. Like my other Amcrest cameras, it doesn't drop out like the Reolynx did. It's fast reacting, and most important, works seamlessly with Blue Iris, which is my NVR software of choice. The build and optical quality are really good, and the nighttime performance was outstanding, arguably one of the best I've seen to date. That's about it for today's video, and I hope you find it useful. I'll leave some links below for this particular model in case you're interested in purchasing one, or if you want to find out more information about it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.